Welcome to The Explainer. We're heading to Kupang, Indonesia, for a story about a man who was supposed to be a pillar of his community, a church priest. But when a young woman, a bride-to-be, suddenly vanished just before her wedding, well, the investigation uncovered a secret life so dark it would end at the bottom of a 12-meter deep well.
So this story really begins with two people whose lives were on completely different tracks. You have this respected community elder and a hopeful young woman, and they were about to collide in just the most tragic way you can imagine. On one side, you've got this man that everybody in the community looked up to, right? A retired teacher, a church priest, and on the other, a young woman just filled with hope, literally days away from starting her new life as a wife.
I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's so stark. You've got Edward Sayana, the respected elder, and this 27-year-old woman who we'll just call DB, busy planning her dream wedding. On the surface, you'd think their worlds would never ever intersect.
But here's the thing. Behind closed doors, Edward was living a complete and total lie. He had a secret room he rented, far away from his family, far away from his congregation. And there, he was running this sordid little side business, selling potency drugs and hiring sex workers. It was a whole other life, a double life, that was completely invisible to everyone who knew him as this pious family man.
Now for DB, the pressure was really on. Her wedding was just around the corner, and she found herself in a tight spot, needing cash urgently. And that need, it led her to make a decision that would put her directly in Edward's path.
And this is where their two very different worlds slam right into each other. It all started with a simple transaction, a deal that had apparently happened before, but this time was different. This time, it would spiral into a horrific, violent crime.
Okay, so let's walk through the morning of May 14th because things escalated with terrifying speed. DB, who'd actually known Edward as a client for 5 years, reaches out to him for money. They agree on a price. She then lies to her family, says she's sick and going to the hospital, but instead, she goes to his secret room. By 10 a.m., they're arguing violently, and before the day's even over, she's dead.
So what was the breaking point? Well, according to Edward's confession, the fight kicked off when DB suddenly changed her mind. He said she grabbed his wallet and locked herself in the bathroom. He then calmed his voice, coaxed her to come out, and the moment she opened that door, he attacked her with a knife he'd brought in his bag.
Now this is where the story takes an even darker turn. Instead of panicking, instead of calling for help, Edward's mind went somewhere else, somewhere far more sinister. He came up with this chillingly methodical plan to make the body and his crime disappear forever. His cover-up was it was as cold as it was calculated. First, he forces DB's body into a barrel. Then, get this, he calls his own son-in-law for help, lying and saying the barrel is just full of rice. Together, they move it to his family home. And that's where Edward filled the rest of the barrel with wet concrete, entombing her body before dropping the whole thing down that deep well. I mean, the deception is just audacious. His own son-in-law even mentioned how unbelievably heavy the barrel was, but Edward just stuck to his story. It's only rice. He was literally using his family's trust as a tool to help him hide this unimaginable crime.
So while Edward thinks he's gotten away with it, the net is already starting to close in on him, and from a couple of different directions.
Her family, as you can imagine, was absolutely frantic. She told them she was going to the hospital for something minor, but when they checked, she wasn't there. She had just vanished. Her phone was off, no trace.
And then, all these different threads start to connect. You have the family's missing person report. You have a neighbor who remembers hearing a scream and seeing a heavy barrel being moved. You have the police who find blood in Edward's secret room. And finally, the village head remembers a very strange request for sand and cement for a supposed floor project. All these clues, they all started pointing in one very dark direction.
And all of these clues would lead investigators to the one place Edward was so sure his secret was safe. The well, right behind his own family's home.
It was this one crucial detail that blew the whole case wide open. The village head, he's suspicious about this so-called floor project, right? He goes to Edward's house and sees no new flooring. But what he does see is fresh concrete and little red specks near the old well. That was it. That was enough to bring in the police. And what they found, well, it was gruesome. It confirmed everyone's worst fears. They pulled that heavy barrel out of the well, broke through the new concrete seal and found DB's body inside. And just like that, a missing person case became a homicide investigation.
With his secret literally unearthed from his own backyard, the respected priest's entire facade just crumbled. He admitted to everything, the murder, the cover-up, all of it.
So, with the crime exposed and a confession secured, we turn to the final chapter, the search for justice and the devastating aftermath for a family who should have been planning a wedding.
After his trial at the Kupang District Court, Edward Sayana, the man who lived a shocking double life, was sentenced to 18 years in prison for murder. But for DB's family, that number was nowhere near enough.
They were absolutely devastated. They had been pushing for the death penalty. To them, 18 years felt like an insult to the life that was so brutally stolen from their daughter just days before she was supposed to get married.
You know, the story of Edward Sayana is just such a dark reminder that the most horrific secrets can be hidden behind the most trusted and respectable faces. And it really leaves us with this one final chilling question. How well do we ever truly know the people we look up to?